word assay, acknowledge the truth of who I am to myself so I can say, well, I need a pair of glasses now, before I can make a judgment about anything out there. To learn the truth that is larger than you requires unlearning the half-truths and the untruths that are still within you. And how many of us don't have any of those left? You know, I look in the mirror, and sometimes all I see is this mole right there. How many of you, when you look in a mirror, figuratively or literally, fixate on one part of who you are? I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too old, I'm too young, too fat, too skinny. My hair is falling out, or there's too much. But those are all easy examples. I'm talking about the tough examples of acknowledging that you don't like parts of who you are, but you don't like to talk about that. Unlearning the half-truths and untruths about you. And that means that in a non-biblical, non-creedal church, we have a problem. How can I get you to look at yourself without pointing to, this is what God says, this is what Jesus says, this is what the Torah says, this is what the Quran says. I don't have a standard to put in front of you, to whack you over your head, to say you've got to do this. The only thing that I have, the only thing that you have, is me. With the mole, and the hair, and the eyes. Not that I know who you are, or that I can tell you who you are, but in some sense, every Sunday, what I do, if I do it well, is I take off a few more spiritual clothes. And you say, well, if he can do it, maybe I can. The only way to do the internal assay of truth you need to get to the external truth, is to take off your spiritual clothing. And the only way to do that is to watch someone else do it. That would be me. And see that at the end of it, he's still standing. He's still alive. He's still whole. To my mind, that is the soul of spiritual leadership. To be fully present in front of God and everybody. And actually, everybody is the one that hurts the most. My goal, friends, every week is to invoke in you what might be called a state of, I think George Zeiderveen called it, delightful confusion. I want to mess with your heads about who you are, about who you think you are, about what you think you know about yourselves, much more than the world. Because it's only when you stop thinking you know who you are exactly, only when you stop thinking about who you are precisely, only at that moment is any other truth able to get past you. The larger truth that is outside us can only come into us if there's a place for it to go. And I'm reminded of the tale of the student who went to the Buddhist monk to get to be his student. He came into him and said, "Sensei, master, I wish to be your student." And as the proposed student was talking, the teacher poured a cup of tea. Now, you know, Oriental teacups are not large. Not like the kind we get in the... At any rate, so the teacher started pouring, and the student kept talking, and the teacher kept pouring until the tea came up out of the cup and flowed out onto the table. And the fellow kept talking about all the things he had done and all the masters he had had and all the books he had read. And at some point, the tea fell over the table and into the lap of the prospective student, and the student was interrupted and said, "Sir, you have stopped. The tea is spilling all over the place. Please stop filling up the cup." He said, "Fine. Now, when you empty your cup, maybe then I can put something into it." How many of us carry around full cups of ourselves? I don't mean we're delighted with ourselves and cocky and things. We could be miserable about ourselves or just absorbed in our own lives to the point where we can no longer take anything in because we're so full of things. Only when we can empty something out, take something out of our own trash bin and put it in the landfill of our soul. I don't know where you want to call it. Can you get to the point where you can understand what George Sand said when she said, "Let us accept truth even when it surprises us and alters our views"? Someone once wrote that most people invoke truth to bolster their position rather than seek truth to find a good position. My point here is my first task every week is to hope some of you out there are thinking, maybe I'm not the person I thought I was. And then something can happen. Then the truth might come in and surprise you and alter your view. Now, my point about all of this is that that's the experience we look for here at Fountain Street Church. A moment of insight when the truth comes in and smacks us in the face and say, hey, you're not what you thought you were. The world is not exactly the way you saw it before. What I like to call this is spiritual liberation. When you are freed from something that was holding you in a certain place. And once freed from that location, you are free to go to a new place, to be more of the person that you want to be and less of the person you think you have to be or ought to be. Somewhere else in that good gospel it says, I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. That gospel is true here. You are here to have life and to have it with abundance. But the point is you can't get abundance until you clear out your own attic and make room for the truth instead of the debris that we accumulate. We worship the truth because it alone, whatever else it can be, can liberate us to the life that you came in here to find. And you're not going to find it today. You're not going to get to the end of the road today. But you want to live a better life. Or if you did not, you would not be here at all. The online times, a good cup of hazelnut coffee and a quick wrap around in front of the fire would be enough for you. But you're not there, you are here. So therefore, I infer you want a better life than the one you have right now. Do not be conformed to the world, says Paul in 2 Corinthians, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. You didn't know the New Testament was full of such good stuff, did you? It really is. It's really interesting. Thank you, John Shelby Spong. Liberation is the point, which is why liberal religion is such a deal. Anybody, you should be glad I didn't read the Times last Sunday morning. Some op-ed contributor named Stanley Fish got all fired up about the evils of liberal religion. That would have spoiled my whole sermon last week. Would have spoiled me, let me put it that way. What did he say? I printed it out for today. The first tenet of the liberal religion is that everything is to be permitted, but nothing is to be taken seriously. I don't know about you, but I take everything seriously. Or perhaps better, there are some things that are too important to be taken too seriously. But I think about it all. And so do you. Because we are trying to be transformed. To find a life that's larger than the one we are in now. That's better, deeper, richer, fuller than the one we have right now. And so we're always here looking for liberation to our larger, better, truer self. Only the truth can get us there. And so you come week after week. First with the hope of shedding some of the encrustations of habit and thought, the shell that grows over all of us from Monday to Saturday as we go to work and clean the house, take care of the kids, buy the groceries. There's a drill, a routine we get into, and pretty soon our brains are there too, thinking of the same thing at the same time every day. And you come here hoping that you can pull it off a little bit. Yes, these things comfort us, they keep us going, but after a while, even a comfortable shell is still a shell, and we bump into it, and we want to get out of the middle of it. Yes, the comforts of familiarity can keep us from being hurt from the world, but they can also become a prison.